Okay, I'm going to level with you. I have purposefully been saving this breakdown for as late as I possibly can. I've kind of been dreading it because I know that it's going to take the longest time to edit of any video I've uploaded this week, because we are talking about a whopping 35% of the teams that are attending SI 2023. APAC only has 3 teams, Brazil has 4, North America has 6, Europe has 7. 70% of the EUL is here. G2, BDS, Wolves, Heroic, MNM, Secret, and Rogue. I mean, quite fuck. Did I just give myself a concussion live on a recording? That's awkward. And I'll keep it real with you. I would much rather see some other teams like DK or even Fnatic, hell, even TSM over some of the teams here. Europe, unfortunately, feels like there's a lot of bloat and not a lot of bite for this invitational compared to other events throughout the year. But we'll still give them a fair shake like we did for everybody else. I mean, they do have 2 major winners after all. BDS are the most current major champions, and I'm curious how many people have them tagged as their favorites to win it all. I mean, it could happen. We could finally witness BDS take the whole damn thing. Their beginning of the year started horrifically when they got cucked out of their group at SI based on whatever the hell Rafal's situation was. And then when they got quartered in Charlotte and were 6th place in the EUL stage after, they said, all right, fuck it, and started the leak effect experiment. From that point, they were 2nd in stage 3, won a LAN in Japan, and then won another one in Jönköping in pretty nail-biting fashion, let's be real. And one would assume that their next step would be to shore up those things that were kind of nail-biting even more so that their games aren't nearly as close as they were for that major. They've had 3 months or so to accomplish that exact goal, and I think they've been putting the work in on it. Leakefak already looks like he's been playing in the league for about 10 years, and Shaiko was the #1 rated player overall from last season. If you were looking for a reason to jump on the BDS hype train for this invitational, you wouldn't be stupid if you cast your lot in with them this year. Koi were the winners of the major just before that. It was right smack in the middle of a year where they missed the other 2 majors. They missed Charlotte because they were trying to make a formula with Rip's work that had very clearly already hit its ceiling. They won Berlin because of a relaxed scrim schedule and the weapon of war that is Spoit. And they missed Jönköping because they said they didn't have enough time between their major winning vacations and the start of stage 3 to really prepare anything new. Or so Leon told me from a few weeks ago, which to be fair, it sounds like a far more valid reason than you might think at first glance. And I would like to think that Koi is capable of whipping themselves back into wicked form after they've had this solid couple of months to refresh and get back into it. I don't think that they're going to immediately be as good as they were in Berlin, like right out of the box, because as soon as you win a major, you paint a really big target on your back for later. But if they can make it out of the group of death, I would paint their chances as higher than most teams to win the whole thing. Wolves are a bit of a toss-up, as much as it sucks to say out loud. You already know that they were the other team to make it to all 3 majors last year, so I don't need to say it again, but it's a monkey's paw because they didn't win a single playoff map despite being in those brackets twice. They were also the greatest defense in the world last year, above a bunch of really big names in the top 5, but that's also a monkey's paw because they won less than half of their attacks in that same time span. So in spite of always being present in the competition, it's just put them in this really weird place where they're only just there. They exist in the same bubble as every other team internationally, but they very clearly hit a ceiling that they now have to worry about punching through. Which is really weird because they didn't have any drama last year. They won 2 EUL stages outright. They got put into a group that they should make the winner's bracket from no problem. So this SI run in particular better be pretty substantial, or I bet they're going to go into this next transfer window trying to find the missing puzzle piece that for some reason they're just not getting right now. G2 is also in a slightly confusing position right now, and I'll be real, I want this team to succeed probably more than any other team here. You wouldn't have caught me dead 3 years ago saying that. There's a good reason though. They haven't won anything since Pengu's retirement. Not an EUL stage, not a major, not a qualifier. I'm not counting GSA in this list. And this is a group of players who are really good on paper and have been tasked with bringing a top brand back to glory, and it still hasn't happened yet. So I've flipped my opinion of this org, this team. I really have, because I truly believe that this lineup can win something. Benja and Doki should be hilariously scary on entry. Blur should be a great support player if his conversion has become complete. Alamau and Virtue need to use that roommate energy to the fullest.
Oh, there's Malpine is right next to me. 2 inches max.
And Fabian and Titan should be the glue that they need. You'll notice that that sentence had a lot of ifs and shoulds in it, which I know doesn't inspire very much confidence. But G2 have bigger expectations on their shoulders than anybody else in Siege, despite them not winning a Tier 1 competition in over 2 years. It's really a case of, if not now, then will it ever happen? Those 4 teams, I actually expect to do something. But these last 3 teams are where the bloat begins to build up. And I truly don't mean that in any disrespectful way, but in a field of so many other world-class teams at this World Championship, which is the Tournament of Titans, convincing people that these 3 teams are going to do anything substantial won't be an easy task. Like, even if one of them were first out of their group and then got deep in the winner's bracket, hell, if any of them even made the grand finals, people would probably still call it a fluke and way too early to be legitimate. I'm expecting building blocks from all of them, not flashy, gratifying, best in the world Siege. And all 3 of them have different reasons for being in the bottom half of this list for me. Heroic, for example, are dealing with 2 roster moves instead of just 1, which is more than any other team is having to deal with right now. And it's not even the exact 2 that they wanted, because Oscar isn't being allowed into Canada and Sloth is an emergency sub. Couple problems with this. Not only is Noodle coming in as a complete rookie who hasn't touched Tier 1 before, but how the hell does a Brit get denied access to Canada? Like, what the hell happened there? The thing is, 2022 for Heroic was scuffed from the get-go. They won the initial EUL stage only to go to Charlotte and get chalked out of their luggage, and needless to say, they get grouped. They'd have a stage 2 that doesn't go their way, then they make a roster change with 2 more rookies, and they barely make it into Jönköping by the skin of their teeth, but they still made it with Mello and Joom. Now they're making 2 more roster changes, and they're not even able to play with one of the guys that they've prepped with extensively for months. And none of that story is an opinion. So do I think they're going to do anything substantial at SI? Nah. Heroic has been a pretty unstable ship for a while, in spite of a few LAN appearances and relative domestic success. And if you told anybody that same story about their past 12 months, I don't think anybody would have much of a reason to think that they have a chance either. With MNM, it's a little bit different. It's another roster change situation, yes, but who's coming into the team and how that team played last year is different. Excluding their finish at SI last year, which was already an achievement just from them qualifying in the first place, they were a top 5 team in Europe for every single stage last year. They made it to 2 majors, and they were second to BDS in the EUL finals. For a team that just came out of Challenger League with had no expectations on them, that's a pretty damn good year. But their entire arc screams out of nowhere. Not like Randy Orton RKO out of nowhere, because to be fair, they haven't won anything since they won Challenger League relegations. At least from my POV, and maybe the Europeans will have a different take on this, but for most of last year, it was kind of like, oh, and hey, MNM's here too, which was kind of similar to Wolves, but Wolves already have a couple of pretty big names on that team, and everyone figured it would have taken a while for any stars to actually emerge on MNM. And as good as guys like Solotov and Uses were last year, it's never put them consistently in sights as a true top flight team, especially internationally. Credit to them for taking an entire year with that CL winning lineup and making 2 majors before doing anything to their roster at all. And I honestly do believe that Nathan can be a really big help in terms of pushing MNM up people's boards. But in a sea of other really insane teams this year, one should rightfully question whether it's even going to make a dent in the group that they have at Invite this year. And that same sort of philosophy also applies to Team Secret, I think. First of all, hats off to them for making their first LAN since OGA Pit when it was a completely different team in core. That's a huge deal. Twister has taken this ragtag group of talent and helped get them to a world championship. So legitimately applause there. That's where it ends though, because their group has Dark Zero, FaZe Clan, and M80 all in it. Confidence is not high. It was a year fraught with roster changes, fraught with staff changes, trying ideas out, that just resulted in 3 consecutive 9th place finishes all year. Now, some would say, presumably the guys on Secret, would say that their past results don't matter because they won the qualifier and they're going to the World Championship, and they even won every single best of 3 they played in that qualifier without dropping a map, which on paper is impressive. But one can also argue that because there are already 6 EUL teams that qualified in front of them, that beating a Na'Vi that doesn't really know what they're doing and an Outsiders team that is very clearly behind the times isn't impressive at all or adequate practice for a world championship against crazy teams of this caliber. Personally, I think it's already insane that they've turned their fortunes around with only having this roster and coaching arrangement for 5 months. So I won't take anything away from them for that accomplishment. The guys are literally in Montreal right now because of a crazy qualifier bracket and a lot of time spent prepping. I get that. But in general, I just don't think that they're there yet. So hopefully this is a good learning environment and they can actually make some noise for next season, even if people don't have confidence that they will get any further than where they're at now. So, that's it. Breakdowns are done. My prep for SI is done. My packing is not, so I need to do that. It took a long time to get these out. It's like 6 videos uploaded in the past like 7 days or something like that, which is crazy. So yeah, what do you think of the European teams that are going to the Invitational this year? Do you think that my top half and bottom half are about in line with your own expectations? Do you think any of the teams that I'm underrating will actually do anything substantial at this event? Let me know in the comments. I am very curious. And you know what's coming up next, right? Devil emoji. Predictions tomorrow, baby. Just like tradition, the day before SI, they're going up. Time to curse some people. Head up my Twitter, my Twitch, and my YouTube for more over the coming days, please and thank you, and I will see you in Montreal. Bye.